This was shot on the Insta360 X3. And this was shot on the Insta360 X5. Or was that shot on the X3? And that first one shot on the X5? I don't remember. Yeah, that's, if that doesn't give the whole thing away, I don't know what will. Now, before we get into this video, I need to make a few things clear. First and foremost, I am not sponsored by Insta360. I purchased this camera and a million years ago, they sent me one of these. I have since purchased 2 or 3 of them, mostly because I broke a lot of them. I am, however, sponsored by DJI, one of Insta360's competitors. DJI did not tell me to make this video. They don't do hit pieces on another company. That's not what happens. I'm making this video because I watched a ton of reviews about this thing right here. A $550 360-degree camera that everybody told me was the best thing since sliced bread, so I went out and purchased one because I figured it was time to reinvest in my vlogging setup so that it looks better for you guys. I'm not gonna lie, I was extremely disappointed when I first saw the footage on the screen here. It was mega crunchy and I was like, I really hope it's compressed here. Then I dragged it over to the phone app so that I could process a clip of my wife riding her bike so that she could share it on social media, and yeah, it looked a little bit better. You can see it right here. But then I took one of the clips of me riding the V-Rod that I'm giving away on the road trip that I took it on to the Twisted Sisters, and it looked exactly like X3 footage. So here's what I want to do today. A bunch of people have already compared the Insta360 X5 to the X4. I don't have an X4 because I didn't want to buy one. I do have an X3, and I think it's more valuable for you to see footage back to back comparing this, the 5.7K 30 frames per second camera from a million years ago, to the 8K mega amazing camera from a week ago.
Now I could sit and talk in the garage all day, but it doesn't make any sense, so I'm just gonna come out here and we're gonna vlog a little bit. I do wanna let you guys know that one of the best things that this camera does, a big improvement over the X3, is how quickly this thing boots up. It boots up very fast. For whatever reason, the flat color profile really sucks. You've seen some of the footage and you'll see a little bit more of the flat. It is just really grainy and really kind of ugly. So, yeah. And then I figured we'd come out here on the EVO-RR just because it's a little bit of a shaky motorcycle. We're going to control for as many variables as possible. We're going to go down the same road, filming on the same day, so that you can see the differences between these cameras. There are a few niceties with the X5 that are worth pointing out. Like I said, it boots really quickly. That is super handy. Especially if you're trying to go out and do a vlog and you want to start on the road. It always takes the X3 like 10 to 15 seconds to fully boot. But as you've seen, the X5 is a much bigger camera. It's a much heavier camera. So out on the end of the pole there, it's putting a lot more weight on it. So it sits a little bit lower. It's also bigger, so it catches more wind. Is the stabilization better? It doesn't really matter, right? Because it's not shaking that hard. It's fine. We are filming in 8K though, so I'd really expect to see, you know, a pretty sizable difference over 5.7. That's an extra 1300 pixels. So that means in theory we could get to a full 4K out of each sensor. But let's switch over to the X3 so you guys can see them back to back. Booting, 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 loading, starting recording, and it's done. Oh yeah, and in case you're curious, those are V-Rod calipers on the Harley. Those are not stock Roadster calipers. those is Brembos. Alrighty, now that we are underway with the X3, I do genuinely want your guys' input here, because to me, is there an improvement in the image quality? Yes, but the improvement is so minuscule that I can't really tell. As somebody who's editing this footage a ton, I'm not seeing a huge difference. I'm just not. I was really hoping for a lot more clarity coming out of the 8K image because it's a much bigger sensor. You know, they made a much to do about this almost 3/4 inch sensor that they have. It's not a full inch. It's like 1 point something, under 1. So yeah, it's not a full 1 inch sensor, but it's much bigger than the sensor that's on board the X3. And because the sensor is bigger, you end up with a lot more information, which allows you to give you better stabilization in theory, because it's all digital image stabilization. And the digital image stabilization seems like, again, marginally better, maybe just a wee tad. The only major question I have is how the contrast is handled, because that camera is very high contrast. So I'll put a little note on screen, but yeah, suffice it to say, I'm very unimpressed between these two cameras. I'm sorry.
Look deep into the gaslight. You didn't see any differences between the cameras. Look at the gaslight. Ow, that's actually really hot. I don't actually have a gaslight, all I have is a lighter. And I do think I actually burned a bit of my hair. So, looking at that footage back to back here in the editing suite, there is a difference, right? So, the biggest thing I'm noticing between the two is the X3 footage is darker. That makes sense because it has a smaller sensor, bigger sensor, more light. However, the X5 has the Insta360 problem where it looks like oops all HDR. I don't know why every single Insta360 camera has this problem. None of the footage looks true to life. I actually have to work pretty hard with the footage to make sure that the stuff off the X5 looks like the footage coming off of my other action cameras, which is a giant pain in the butt because I had to do that already on the X3. The low light areas of the image are better on the X5, but is it that big a difference, really? Like, am I seeing a massive change in the actual quality of the image? Not really. Now, since I did dump over $550 into a camera for a video that probably won't even make 50, allow me a short shameless plug. Chiji makes a piece of motorcycle technology that's actually worth spending your hard-earned doubloons on. The AIO6 is the biggest and baddest aftermarket dashboard out there. The built-in dash cams constantly record your ride, and it looks an awful lot like the X5 if you ask me. Not to mention, they have an algorithm running in the background that can identify cars and bikes in your blind spot and warn you. The dash itself can be paired with an OBD scanner to pull real-time data from your bike, and it's got built-in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Oh, and it's swappable from bike to bike, so you don't have to buy a bunch of them if you've got multiple motorcycles, or, you know, maybe if you want to put one in your car. Another bonus for those of you who are in the Insta360 ecosystem, you can pair your cameras directly to the dashboard. If I kept listing and alsos, we'd be here all day, so if you want more information, click the link down in the description below where you can pre-order one and get up to 23% off. Now that we're back in the garage, I do want to take a second to tell you guys, shut up about the walls. I promise, I'm working on painting them. Hey, hold on, let me show you. Let me freaking show you this, because I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. That right there in the corner, that's paint and painting tools. That's white paint and primer. I'm gonna paint the walls, okay? Give me a break. Where was I? Oh yeah, so I don't want this to just be a straight up hit piece, because while this camera doesn't make any massive leaps forward in terms of the image quality, there are some very nice quality of life features that I do want to talk about. First and foremost, the biggest thing that Insta360 has done here that makes this thing worth purchasing, especially if you haven't already got a 360 camera in your arsenal is you can swap the lenses out on this thing. Basically, the way it works is if you have an X3 and you drop it on the ground, you've got about a 50-50 shot of damaging this lens or that lens, depending on which hits the ground first. That results in a $300 camera that is functionally disposable. You can now get a lens kit for like 30 or 40 bucks that swaps out the lenses on here, and there's a quick calibration that you do, and it's ready to rock and roll. Everybody's been shouting that out like it's the, coolest new feature on an action camera, but I mean, when was the last time you saw an action camera that didn't have a removable lens? So really what we're seeing is 360 cameras catch up to action cameras. Second thing, these batteries, they do charge pretty quick. I only have the one battery and it went from about 20% to full in maybe like a half hour. I'm not gonna say that the battery life here is holy cow amazing, because whenever I'm filming with a 360 camera, I film at about 20 minutes tops. And when I'm done filming a 20-minute segment, I have about 75% battery left. When I'm done filming a 20-minute segment with this thing, I have about 80 to 85% battery left. The last thing I'm gonna shout out is the mic on this thing. The mic on the front of this is actually really cool. Here's a sound clip of my 600. Especially if you're somebody who's riding on a racetrack and you just want to have one camera and you want to hear your bike, this is a great way to do it. I'm not gonna lie. That is a feature that I will be using, because I am switching to this, only because I actually sold this camera to a member of the Discord server, which you can join by clicking the link down in the description below, by the way, or join the YouTube memberships. That's down there by the subscribe button. Everybody's talking about this night view mode like it's something amazing. And okay, maybe. I don't film at night, so I don't care. If you're looking for some night view shots, Chase on Two Wheels has a great video. But I don't film at night, so sorry. Other than that, really all this is a more expensive X3 with some super user features, like being able to put, where's the little clippy guy? I left it inside. Right, so instead of using just the thread mount like the old one has, you can use the Insta360's Ace Pro mount to lock your camera in place. And it's not going anywhere. So, brass tacks here. Is this camera worth $550? Hell no, absolutely not. It is not worth that kind of cash. I promise you, if you're out there and you do not have an action camera, you can get an X3 or an X4 for way cheaper, and it's going to look 99% the same as this thing. I'm just gonna say it. I don't think that I spent $550 worth of money to get $550 worth of camera. I mean, it's a business expense, so I'm okay. I can write it off on my taxes, but y'all can't, so don't bother. Now, I wanted to bring this back into the office just for one last little bit here, because this whole thing has given me a lot more respect for the pulpit that I have when it comes to sponsored reviews. I watched a ton of different reviews from a ton of different people within and without of the motorcycle niche, and all of them made it seem like the X5 was this massive generational leap forward. Is there an improvement? Yes. It's marginal, in my opinion. If this video had been sponsored by Insta360, could I honestly tell you guys that I would have said the same thing about this camera that I'm saying now? I'm not 100% sure. I'm really not. I probably would have said something along the lines of, the X5 is worth purchasing just for the swappable lens guards alone. And there is some truth to that. If you're a super user and you break a bunch of these cameras a lot, or you're smashing the lenses into stuff, yes, it is worth buying just for the lenses. And I am going to be using the X5 going forward, because it is a slight improvement in image quality, and it's a little easier to color correct. This actually made me look back at one of the reviews that I did for DJI, and I feel kind of better about the statement that I made towards the end of that video. Here, I'm gonna just play it for you. But here's the real question. Let's say you already have an Action 4 and you're thinking, do I need to upgrade to the Action 5? Yes, the 5 Pro is by far the better camera here. However, I don't think the average weekend warrior action camera user needs all the bleeding edge features. And let's be real, if this is the best action camera on the market, this is the second best action camera on the market, and you really can't go wrong with either of these. Both of these cameras were provided by DJI, and I genuinely stand by what I said at the end of that video. I do think that if you are just starting out and you want the best of the best action camera, this is it. But you're gonna be totally served fine by getting that Action 4 for like $100 less. Or maybe it's 50 bucks less, I don't remember. Really, this whole misadventure, if that's what you want to call it, has really hammered home the one rule that I have for sponsored content, and that is you will not see something on the channel that I do not wholeheartedly recommend to you guys. I can't wholeheartedly recommend the X5, so you're not going to see another video about it. If another sponsor comes to me and they're like, hey, put this on the channel, but I don't want to, I don't feel comfortable telling you that it's worth your money, you won't see it. That's a promise from me to you. So, yeah, catch you guys in the next one. See you later.